What's up, everybody? It's Brandon from Box Office Banner and Cult Flick Symposium, and I'm here to talk to you about Air. No, not the air that we breathe, of course, but the movie Air, about Air Jordan. Rarefied air, I might say. The GOAT, you might say. This is a movie that, oddly enough, I was not too hyped for. This is before I saw the trailer. All I'd heard about is like, this is going to be the beginnings and how Air Jordan and the shoe line came to be. Now, that might be interesting to some people. You think on paper it would be interesting to me. But oddly enough about me, as much as I'm a movie nerd, I am a even just as big sports nerd. I was never, the guy that just got into movies and, I guess was the proverbial dork growing up. Don't get me wrong, I am a dork. I can be super nerdy. But I also was the guy that ran with the jocks and kind of did a little bit of everything. I love sports growing up, but yet and still, even playing sports my whole life, doing all this stuff, working out the whole nine, I always loved doing sports. I love watching sports, but I never really got into watching sports movies. Now, don't get me wrong, there's definitely sports movies that I highly enjoy, but they're few and far between, and they don't have a lot of rewatch value for me. And there's definitely ones everybody's like, oh my God, one of my favorite movies of all time. And I'm just like, yeah, well, to me, it's just good. It's fine. It was worth a watch. Not the best thing ever. There's something about sports movies that don't hype me up. So hearing about not a story about Michael Jordan's life, like a full-on, his time with the Bulls, hell, even his time with the Wizards, throw that, closing argument in there, even if it was just a one-off season where Michael was basically just like jumping in so he could own the team and he was going to play like one more year, I would even watch that debacle because it's Michael Jordan. But for the shoes, yes, there's something to these shoes. Obviously, they've stuck around. It's interesting. But at the end of the day, to me, it's about a shoe. How interesting can it be? But then I saw the trailer. I saw the cast. And I fell in love. Ben Affleck. You can say whatever you want about him as an actor. Which really, you shouldn't have anything bad to say there either. Because Ben Affleck's pretty much been a hell of an actor. I remember seeing him in Armageddon when I was a kid till now. Like, dude has been killing it for a while. And I've never really had to. Maybe everybody was mad at him for being Bruce Wayne / Batman. You get the fanboys of the DCs and the MCUs and shit. This case, DC. Well, they'll eat you up. Chew you up, spit you out. But overall, you haven't really heard necessarily much naysay on Affleck's career as an actor. Maybe when he did like Jilly or whatever you call it with Jennifer Lopez and his name was all in the news. Ironically enough, they're together again now. There was maybe a little bit of hate, but overall, it's Ben Affleck. And as a director, this dude has done nothing but surprise the hell out of me. So finding out he was going to take on this movie about Michael Jordan, and then you look across the way, there's his best friend, Matt Damon. You got these comedy actors, one of which can play a damn good serious role too, and Jason Bateman. But he can add that little bit of levity, throw the comedy in there, if they so choose to have that in there as well. And then you got Chris Tucker. Now, Chris Tucker, he's such a wild card, is he not? We loved him early on in his comedy roles with Friday, even Fifth Element. He gets a lot of hate for that movie, but like that was another big movie of his, even if he wasn't a highlight of that movie. A lot of people make fun of him in that one. And then Rush Hour, of course, even like his little roles in like Tarantino's movies, like Jackie Brown. He was popping up in a lot of stuff. And then he comes into this movie, just like he did Silver Linings Playbook, and it's kind of like he pops in every like 8 years in what seems to be a good movie. And then you got Marlon Wayans too, which is cool to see him in the movie. So you throw all this together. Can it possibly be good? Can it be great? Given the talent around it, that's what you expect. And honestly, that is what you get. They do make it all the worthwhile. This story isn't anything groundbreaking. It isn't anything crazy. It's probably about what you expected. Nike, yeah. As I say that, maybe people don't understand that Nike wasn't the proverbial powerhouse that they are now. And they were in the mix, but they were not Adidas at the time. So it is interesting to see from that point of view. But this movie isn't something where just like there's twists and turns that make it insane. But the performances and the direction by Affleck and the way it just churns out authenticity. Like you feel like you're actually watching this play out. You're not watching, this is what good actors do. This is what good screenwriters do for you. This is what good directors do for you. You're not watching Ben Affleck and Matt Damon have fun in this movie about Air Jordan. It's taken really seriously. And one creative choice I thought was really weird. I don't know if they couldn't get an actor to play Air Jordan, but they are really limited on showing his appearance. We definitely get a lot of his parents. He could be in the same room, but much like the trailers, I don't think this is much of a spoiler. I won't say if they show him at all or do not, but it really is like that in the movie. You're just like you're almost like trying to peek around the corner, like I'm trying to get a look at his face. Um, as far as characters go, though, in general, everybody shine. Matt Damon, this is probably one of my favorite roles of his. I really believed him as this guy. And as a huge sports fan, I related to him in a way. Because even though Michael Jordan was supposed to be the third overall pick, it really showcased back then that, yeah, he was supposed to be a stud, but a lot of people didn't believe in him. A lot of people didn't, obviously, damn near everyone, even Matt Damon, didn't necessarily think he could be the greatest basketball player of all time. There was even people that were saying that they mentioned in the movie, like, the only reason he's up to third pick is because of the shot he made in the national championship game for North Carolina. It raised his draft stock. So for them to go back and highlight that, because hindsight's always 20/20, people. When we're looking at it, even the people that were growing up in the era as he started to dominate, or when we're looking at it, you know, from the era like now it's of the past, and we heard the stories, and we know Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time. He's the best basketball player ever. That's just cemented in our brains. It's easy to forget that there was these players that were picked over him at the time. There's actually people that thought that maybe he was going to be overrated as a smaller guard, as they were calling him. So to take a little trip down memory lane and put us level-headed with how it all began was interesting, because we have been caught up in this bright light that is Michael Jordan. He's like walking Jesus. I think Larry Bird even called him that, like he was Jesus in sneakers or whatever when they played him, and he was breaking the playoff record, 63 points in a playoff game against the Celtics. Even though they lost, he was putting up miraculous performances trying to lift the Bulls team that just did not have the firepower until he got Scottie Pippen. So it's very cool to kind of really like have this movie so strongly anchored by its performances, and like really good with set pieces, and you know, just really paying attention to the time and what time we're in, from the music to even the little montage it opens up with, taking us back to the 80s to where you feel like you are almost in some weird way, which maybe that's a creative choice to not even show his face because we don't even want to be familiar with him yet, that we are seeing Michael Jordan as viewers for the first time over again. Hard to erase that. This movie does a good job of putting yourself in those shoes that people were in back then before a phenom took over the world. Even if you weren't a fan of basketball, you knew you wanted to be like Mike and change the game and resurrect it and save what is the NBA, much like Magic and Bird did, because it also seemed like it was going downhill again. And then, boom. You know, we always have that next guy. LeBron came in, did the same thing. Kobe to some degree. So very interesting in that regard. I thought Chris Tucker was pretty funny in this movie. I think Jason Bateman was pretty funny in this movie. I really enjoyed their performances. I thought Bateman got a couple of chances to shine. He has one particular moment where, like, he's always fighting against Matt Damon because Matt Damon's wanting to put it all on the line in this movie. And he's just fighting against the grain because he's, you know, it's a risk. But that is the whole movie. It's not just him. It's Ben Affleck. I mean, it's his company. Matt Damon is trying to push the boundaries. And as much as they push back, you can tell that even though they're not saying it out loud, there is a level of respect till finally Matt Damon's sheer efforts, they cannot not abide by what he's saying. He believes in this so much, the fire, the passion, almost Jordan-like, except in a different field. It becomes magnetic, and they have to go on this journey with him, even though it takes a hell of a lot of convincing. And this movie overall, like what it shows you that I think is just a brilliant, amazing message. It's not brilliant as in like, oh my God, how they come up with that, but brilliant because this is the stuff our mind should be on at all times, is never become complacent. Nike, it's reminded in the movie, it took risks to get there. The owner had to take risks, and then he became complacent. You can become complacent if you get comfortable. It's not that you're not doing good. It's not that you're doing well. But in life, you should always be ready to take that next step. You should always be able to take that risk. And even if it's not a fully calculated risk, sometimes you got to take that leap of faith to not just go to better horizons, but to feel alive. And that is a very important part of, I think, of our growth. And this movie shows that and displays that, I think, in spades. And I can't commend it enough for that. This movie is a damn good time. If this is your kind of thing, I think you'll really enjoy it. Even if it's not your kind of thing, I think you'll pull a great message from it. Really great performances, really funny at times. It's not like flat out humor all the time, but a lot of little moments that you might not expect. It's kind of like out of nowhere. You kind of find yourself laughing out loud, even a couple times. Um, Again, just great direction, and you know where it's going because you know the story. Even if you're not a big basketball fan, you know the story. But it is a fun ride to see just how it gets there, and it's delivered, you know, just amazingly. I can't really say enough about the movie. Very, very well done, and a very good thing for MJ at this time, man. He just had The Last Dance a couple years ago. Now he's got this. This is just putting, while he's not playing the game and we know him so well, while other greats are dominating, this is like just another little, tip feather in his cap to say, like, yeah, but you know who the baddest of the bad was. MJ is the truth, and them and the things they saw in him, particularly Matt Damon, to put all their chips on the table into this guy and to not strike out and to come through with the biggest of home runs, even if Michael Jordan wasn't too good at hitting them. Baseball reference. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it's like self-explanatory, Brandon. It still is. It's great, dude. It's great. That's all you need to know. It is an 8.1 out of 10 to me. If I was a bigger fan of these kinds of movies, again, surprising that I'm not, it probably would be higher. This is a very, very well-made movie and definitely worth your time and price of admission. Go check it out. Air is showing everywhere at theaters while tickets last. I don't know, guys. Love y'all. Peace.